Hello and welcome to South Asia Today, a show that provides you the glimpses of South Asia. I'm your host, Karim Zimik. Here are the headlines. European African delegation visits Kashmir to assess ground situation. Road infrastructures of GB in shambles, government remains apathetic. And devotees in India take holy dip, offer prayers to mark Spring Festival. Let's begin the show. It's been weeks since the first COVID vaccine shot was administered. Countries from US to UK, China to India and Israel have launched their massive vaccination drives. However, the bigger challenge that has cropped up in such times is the hoarding of vaccines by rich countries. Billions of doses have already been pre-purchased, leaving poor countries at the mercy of God. India, which has been the top supplier of vaccines to all corners of the world, has urged countries to forego vaccine nationalism and embrace internationalism in such times.
COVID vaccine, the word that thrilled and satisfied the world a few weeks ago, has run into a global controversy over its inequitable access to the poorest of the countries. As per the data presented by the World Health Organization, around 75% of all vaccines administered so far have been in just 10 countries, while nearly 130 countries haven't administered any vaccines. The People's Vaccine Alliance, a group campaigning for free and fair distribution of vaccines, has given an even more worrying news. While the rich countries have pre-ordered enough doses to vaccinate their populations 3 times over, 9 in 10 people in nearly 70 poorer countries are unlikely to be vaccinated at all this year. WHO's COVAX program aims to inoculate all underprivileged across the world, but its speed will be dampened with rich countries resorting to vaccine nationalism.
The rollout of COVID-19 vaccines is generating hope. But at this critical moment, vaccine equity is the biggest moral test before the global community. We must ensure that everybody, everywhere, can be vaccinated as soon as possible.
Meanwhile, India, the frontrunner in fight against the COVID, which has also been vigorously and generously supplying vaccines around the world, has urged others to stop hoarding superfluous doses, for it believes that doing so will defeat the efforts toward attaining collective health security. Experts say vaccine hoarding and inequitable distribution could render a double whammy, as it will not only allow the infection to spread and kill, but it also set to give a $9.2 trillion jolt to world economy. As a dominant power in and around South Asia and with the capacity to be the world's top maker of COVID-19 shots, India has gifted or sold more than 17 million doses to over 20 countries in past 4 weeks. Indian companies have promised to produce billions of COVID-19 shots this year alone. 50%, it says, will be shared with the rest of the world.
25 nations across the world have already received Made in India vaccines. 49 more countries will be supplied in the coming days, ranging from Europe, North America, Latin America, the Caribbean, to Africa, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific Islands. Keeping in mind the UN peacekeepers who operate in such difficult circumstances, we would like to announce today a gift of 200,000 doses for them as well. We are working actively with Gavi, WHO, and ACT Accelerator. Our contribution has also supported the SARC COVID-19 Emergency Fund.
Even Pakistan, India's arch-rival responsible for fomenting terror inside its territory, will be receiving 2.8 million India-made COVID vaccines through COVAX route. And when countries and groupings are passing resolutions urging rich countries to not hoard, they have acknowledged and appreciated the role being played by India in global fight to eradicate the disease. Meanwhile, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi urged neighbouring countries to consider sharing data on the effectiveness of COVID-19 vaccines and explore special visas for medics to move around the region during health emergencies.
the hopes of our region and the world are focused on rapid deployment of vaccines. In this too, we must maintain the same cooperative and collaborative spirit. Friends, over the past years, our health cooperation has already achieved so much.
India seeks the world community to double down on the efforts being made to control the spread of the pandemic. While it has been successful in bringing down the infection rate by 10 times in past 5 months, India, appropriately labelled as the pharmacy of the world, has been doing everything to live up to its reputation and the hopes the world has pinned on its caliber.
Moving on, days, months and years have passed, but the fortunes of Gilgit-Baltistan have not moved a single inch forward. State-backed discrimination, torturing infrastructure and unfulfilled poll promises continue to be the story of the region. Pakistan's government, which has illegally controlled this region for over 7 decades, has in fact ensured that the people here do not get a life of peace and prosperity. It has created obstacles and fomented troubles. And while it has been drumming about Kashmiri rights across the world, Islamabad has always been the last to acknowledge and react to colossal sufferings that the people in the region are enduring on everyday basis.
If this is not throwing innocent lives in the jaws of death, then one only wonders, what is? In the absence of an alternative route, scores of vehicles including passenger buses and loaded trucks traverse this deadly stretch in the illegally occupied Yasin district every day. But that hasn't been enough to knock off the sleeping authorities. Weeks have passed since a large dust mountain following heavy rainfall came down on this key regional road, cropping up a situation where large vehicles cannot pass the area without hours of struggle. Locals who have grown disillusioned with the Islamabad-appointed bureaucracy have come to terms with decades of discrimination, and in spite of that, they call it a crisis that demands immediate government intervention, but nobody seems to have cared.
यहाँ रोड का हालत बहुत ही खस्ता है। यहाँ यासीन के आवाम के लिए बहुत बड़े मसाइल के दरपेश है, क्योंकि यहाँ पे जितने भी ट्रक और बसेस बड़ी गाड़ियाँ जो आती है उनके लिए बहुत ही मसाइल होता है, और जो ट्रक गंदम बोरी लेकर आते हैं उनके लिए कई दफ़ा यहाँ पे फंस चुके हैं और गंदम की बोरी जो है यहाँ पे लग के फट चुके हैं। तो हम हिफाज़त वाला से हमारी पुरज़ोर अपील है कि इस रोड को कम से कम यहाँ कोई पुल सीसी पुल बनाने की कोशिश करे, और यहाँ ऊपर से पानी जब आती है तो कई दिनों तक रोड फंसता है और बहुत ही मसाइल दरपेश है।
This is not an exclusive incident of apathy. The infrastructure and services in the entire region are corroding. The government claims to have spent huge amounts in the development projects, but locals have termed it a lie. Locals say any amount that is sanctioned by the central government is solely for the projects that cater to the needs of Pakistan and not theirs. Their pleas are rejected and ridiculed. Even trivial works take weeks and months to complete.
ये इस साल डिज़ास्टर जो है ना हुआ है, सैलाब आ गया है, और ताहाल न मैनेजमेंट डिज़ास्टर की तरफ से कोई है, न हुकाम बला की तरफ से कोई है, न वक़्त के MNA की तरफ से हमारे कोई है। ये टोटली 4 घंटे का काम है। पिंडी से बस आती है, वो यहाँ से वोट नहीं जाती है, और ट्रक आता है, वो यहाँ घंटा लगा देते हैं, दूसरे ट्रैफिक के लिए ये मसले बनाते हैं।
Gilgit-Baltistan is home to some of the most captivating natural sceneries on earth, and its serene landscapes have the potential of making it a tourist hotspot. But instead of tapping its potential to provide a better life to local residents, the successive Islamabad-backed administrations have only exploited the land, resources, and people of the region. Locals say even the politicians who have indigenous roots are dancing to the tunes of Islamabad as they are given a favorable treatment by the government for their shift in loyalties.
Now we take a look at some happenings in Asia in a segment called Asia Watch. Consumer spending during the Chinese Lunar New Year holiday surged by 28.7% year-on-year, according to the latest statistics from the Ministry of Commerce. The combined sales of retail and catering enterprises in China rose to 821 billion yuan during the one-week Spring Festival holiday, with online sales alone exceeding 122 billion yuan over the holiday season's first 6 days. Sales of jewelry, clothes and cosmetics products have increased by over 100%. Consumers inclined more to higher quality products this Spring Festival, as the sales of digital devices, home appliances and communication devices have seen significant growth. Businesses in the service industry, including catering, entertainment and hotels, have also recovered quickly during the holiday. Online catering sales have surged 135% compared with the Spring Festival holiday last year, as more Chinese have ordered ready-to-eat meals through e-commerce or online food delivery platforms, and the sales of products related to Lunar New Year's Eve dinners increased by 54.9% year-on-year during the holiday. As China has encouraged people to stay put for the Spring Festival holiday to curb the spread of COVID-19, local hotels and home inns have become a popular spot for revelers to celebrate the holiday. Short tours to culture-bearing or historical sites were also among the most popular cultural products. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken will meet virtually with his counterparts from Japan, Australia and India in the Quad framework, a grouping seen as part of efforts to balance China's growing military and economic power. The meeting, announced by State Department spokesman Ned Price at a regular, will be the first of the informal group under the Biden administration that took office on January 20, although it has discussed its future role in bilateral calls with members since then. Blinken will also discuss shared global challenges with counterparts from France, Germany and the UK in a separate call. President Joe Biden has said working closely with allies will be key to his strategy toward China, in which he has said the United States will aim to outcompete Beijing. After announcing the meetings, Price took a question about Iran, saying the US vowed to impose consequences on the perpetrators of the rocket attack in northern Iraq, which killed a civilian contractor and injured a US service member. Egyptian authorities on Sunday detained relatives of prominent Egyptian-American human rights activist Mohammed Sultan, the Freedom Initiative, Sultan's organization. During the wide-ranging briefing, Price also said that North Korea's malicious cyber activities threaten the United States and its allies and will be included in an ongoing review of US policy toward the country. The annual Touching China Awards ceremony, broadcast by China Media Group, honored 10 individuals and groups as the country's inspiring role models of 2020. The program, initiated in 2003, honors those who have touched the nation with their tenacity, bravery and wisdom over the previous years. These heroes are ordinary citizens in all walks of life whose deeds have impacted the society significantly. All members of the #1 geodetic survey team and the Chinese Ministry of Natural Resources, who have been measuring the mountains and rivers of the motherland, braving various difficulties for decades. The award ceremony also extended a special tribute to all anti-COVID-19 heroes who have sacrificed their lives for the mission, cared for the common people with boundless love and made selfless contribution to the cause. Moving on, while the successive Pakistani Prime Ministers have raked up Kashmir issue in international community to secure their political careers, it is India that has been working vigorously to ensure peace and prosperity in the region. New Delhi has played a key role in the growth and employment the region has achieved in the past 1.5 years. From successful elections to development projects, the state of Jammu and Kashmir is witnessing all. Recently, India's External Affairs Ministry took foreign diplomats to Kashmir to witness the first-hand account of the developments the region has witnessed.
A group of 24 envoys was in Kashmir this week to interact with locals and Kashmiri authorities in order to get a sense of the real situation at the ground, especially in the aftermath of amendment of Article 370 that changed the status of the region into a union territory. It was the third delegation of diplomats to visit since August 2019. The visit came at the heels of successful District Development Council elections held in the region a few weeks back. This visit was organized so that the diplomats could take first-hand experience of the development claims made by New Delhi. They spoke to local residents and discussed their responses to recent local elections and economic opportunities. They also met journalists and civil society groups in the region.
They asked pertinent questions, wanted to know the ground realities, and that was shared by them. Elected representatives from all political opinions and all political parties participated. Everybody spoke about their views and constructive suggestions, and I think that was very well received, and there was a lot of interest in collaboration with a lot of European countries to address some of our governance related issues.
While Kashmir went through one of the toughest lockdowns owing to Pakistan-sponsored security threats post-change in its political status, the locals have termed it a historical curve as the violence has significantly dropped in the region. The communication channels that receive security halts have been restored. 4G network has been restored in the region. The Government of India has also said that it will return Jammu and Kashmir the status of a state very soon. New Delhi has reiterated its agenda of strengthening democratic institutions and empowering citizens of Kashmir by bringing the region to a national discourse of the country. The efforts were acknowledged by the diplomats who said New Delhi had been successful in establishing a more democratic setup at all levels.
What we are realizing, let's say so, is that all what was happening the last year and a little more months is that democracy took place here. Clearly, what we can identify is that the local actors in terms of politics took their places now at the levels of the district, at the level of the blocks, at the level of the tehsils. It's impressive.
The delegates were also briefed by officials of Indian Army in Jammu and Kashmir about the consistent ceasefire violations made by Pakistan. Rattled by India's political move, Pakistan has been consistently trying to hamper peace in the region. Lately, Pakistani Army has targeted civilians to inflict a political pressure. The Government of India, however, has been undeterred by all its nefarious agendas and has been countering it at all fronts. Its key focus is development of region and its people. New Delhi had envisaged over $15 billion, highest ever for Jammu and Kashmir last year. Capital expenditure has improved significantly in the region. The government says that region will have a robust infrastructure in coming months. While entire territory has been electrified, piped water connections to 100% households is just months away. The government is also set to rope in major Indian and international firms to invest in the region in order to employ the youths. The region is also set to get light metro network soon that many have already labelled as momentous development in Kashmiri history.
Next, we take you to India, where spring is on its way and people are all set to welcome it with much enthusiasm. To mark the preparations for its arrival, they recently observed Basant Panchami, an auspicious occasion celebrated 40 days before spring, and it is dedicated to Saraswati, the Hindu goddess of knowledge and wisdom.
Various states in India got soaked in the festival spirit of joy as they celebrated the most awaited festival of Basant Panchami. On this occasion, devotees in the Indian temple towns of Varanasi and Haridwar took a holy dip in river Ganges. Celebrated on the 5th day of the bright half of the Hindu month of Magh, which usually falls in the month of late January or February, the festival also glorifies goddess Saraswati, who also symbolizes creative energy and power in all its form, including longing and love.
स्नान कोरोना काल में जो है अपने शरीर का जो है सुरक्षा के लिए मास्क वगैरह पहन करके लोग आ रहे हैं और अपनी सुरक्षा के लिए जो है गंगा स्नान में शारीरिक दूरी बना करके लोग रख रखे हैं.
In Kolkata city of West Bengal, devotees were seen worshipping goddess Saraswati to help them guide to the path full of knowledge. As per the Hindu beliefs, goddess Saraswati was born on this day, and therefore many students keep fast on this day until they make offerings pushpanjali or flowers to the goddess.
কোভিড প্রোটোকল মেনে মোটামুটি একই রাখা হয়েছে, কারণ যারা সবাই ক্লাব মেম্বার তাদেরকেই বলা হয়েছে, যারা আমরা ক্লাবের সব অনুষ্ঠানে একসাথে থাকি তাদেরকেই বলা হয়েছে, এবং সব কিছু প্রোটোকল মেনটেন করে সবাই মাস্ক, আমরা স্যানিটাইজারও রেখেছি, আমাদের রাখা আছে, ব্যবস্থা করি, আমরা আয়োজন করেছি, এবং দেখতেই পাচ্ছেন আপনারা চেয়ারগুলো ফাঁকা ফাঁকা রাখা হয়েছে, সবাই ডিস্টেন্স মেনটেন করেই বসেছে, সেইগুলোই বলা হয়েছে.
Meanwhile, in Amritsar city of Punjab, devotees thronged Gurdwara Chhata Sahib and offered prayers and took a dip in the sacred pond, as they believed it washes away their sins and all their wishes come true. People were also seen relishing the langar food on the occasion.
जब से मेरी शादी हुई हम यहाँ पे स्नान करते आए हैं हर पंचमी. ये शाटा साहब का मान्यता है. बसंत पंचमी पे बहुत संगत आती है. बसंत पंचमी की एक महानता है कि आप बसंत पंचमी से अगली बसंत तक स्नान करेंगे, आपकी मनोकामना जो भी है वो पूरी जरूर होगी.
Hindu goddess Saraswati is depicted as seated on a lotus, riding a swan and holding a veena in her hands. Basant Panchami holds immense importance for students and artists, and special prayers are held in schools and colleges on this day.
It's time for me to wrap up today's episode. We will be back next week at the same time. This is Karim Zamik signing off on behalf of entire production team of South Asia Today. Goodbye and take care.